The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Diana Vale's corner office as she stared at the divorce papers scattered across her mahogany desk. At 32, she had built herself into one of the most successful marketing executives in the city, but tonight all of that felt meaningless. The elegant office that once represented her achievements now felt like a prison of memories. Diana's phone buzzed with another message from her ex-husband, Marcus, but she couldn't bring herself to read it. 3 months had passed since she discovered his affair with Rebecca, her former business partner and closest friend. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could. Rebecca had been the maid of honor at their wedding, the woman Diana had trusted with her deepest secrets and biggest dreams. Now they were building a life together while Diana sat alone, picking up the pieces of her shattered world. The clock on her desk read 8:47 p.m. Most of her colleagues had gone home hours ago, but Diana couldn't face returning to her empty apartment. The silence there was deafening, filled with ghosts of laughter and promises that would never be fulfilled. She had thrown herself into work, accepting every project and working late into the night, but tonight, even her passion for creating brilliant campaigns felt hollow. Diana gathered the papers and slipped them into her briefcase. She needed a drink, something strong enough to dull the ache in her chest. The Crimson Lounge was only 3 blocks away, an upscale establishment where she could blend into the shadows and drink in peace. The rain had softened to a gentle drizzle. As she walked, her heels clicking rhythmically against the wet pavement. The lounge exuded sophistication with its dim amber lighting and rich leather furnishings. Jazz music floated through the air, creating an atmosphere of refined elegance. Diana chose a seat at the far end of the mahogany bar, away from the couples sharing intimate conversations. The bartender, a distinguished man in his 50s, approached with a knowing smile. "What can I get you tonight, miss?" "Whiskey neat. Make it a double." She had barely taken her first sip when a deep voice spoke from beside her. "Rough day at the office?" Diana turned to find herself looking into the most striking pair of green eyes she had ever seen. The man was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing an impeccably tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he had been running his fingers through it. And there was something magnetic about his presence that made her pulse quicken. "Something like that," Diana replied, taking another sip of her whiskey. The burn felt good against her throat. "Adrian Cross," he said, extending his hand. Diana nearly choked on her drink. Everyone in the business world knew that name. Adrian. Cross was the enigmatic billionaire who had built Cross Industries from nothing into a tech empire worth billions. He was notoriously private, rarely appearing in public, and never giving interviews. "Diana Vale," she managed, shaking his hand. His touch sent an unexpected jolt of electricity through her. "The Diana Vale. I've heard about your work with the Harrison campaign. Brilliant strategy." Despite her emotional state, Diana felt a flutter of pride. "You know my work?" Adrian signaled the bartender for another round. "I make it my business to know talented people. Your campaign increased their market share by 40% in 6 months. That kind of innovation doesn't go unnoticed." For the first time in months, Diana felt genuinely appreciated for her professional accomplishments rather than pitied for her personal failures. "What brings a tech mogul to a place like this on a Tuesday night?" Adrian's smile held a hint of sadness. "Same as you, I imagine. Sometimes success doesn't fill all the empty spaces in your life." They talked for hours, the conversation flowing as smoothly as the expensive whiskey Adrian ordered. Diana found herself sharing things she had never told anyone, not even Rebecca. She spoke about her dreams of starting her own agency, her fear of taking risks, and the crushing disappointment of her marriage's failure. Adrian listened intently, occasionally sharing glimpses of his own struggles with the isolation that came with immense wealth and responsibility. "You know what I find fascinating about successful people?" Adrian said, leaning closer. "We're all running from something, but we convince ourselves we're running toward something better." "And what are you running from?" Diana asked, surprised by her own boldness. Adrian's eyes darkened. The same thing you are. The fear that maybe we're not as strong as everyone thinks we are. The vulnerability in his voice touched something deep inside Diana. Here was a man who had everything money could buy, yet he seemed as lost as she felt. The attraction between them was undeniable, crackling in the air like electricity before a storm. I should go, Diana said, though every fiber of her being wanted to stay. Should and want are two very different things, Adrian replied softly. What do you want, Diana? The question hung in the air between them, loaded with possibility and danger. Diana looked into his eyes and saw her own longing reflected back at her. For months, she had felt numb, going through the motions of living, without truly feeling alive. But sitting here with Adrian, she felt something awakening inside her. Something she thought Marcus had killed forever. I want to feel alive again, she whispered. Adrian stood and offered his hand. Then come with me. Diana hesitated for only a moment before placing her hand in his. They left the lounge together, stepping into the cool night air. Adrian's driver was waiting with a sleek black sedan, and within minutes they were gliding through the city streets toward the elite district where only the wealthiest residents lived. Adrian's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a gleaming skyscraper. The elevator ride felt eternal, charged with anticipation and nervous energy. When the doors opened, Diana gasped. The space was breathtaking, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city lights. Modern art adorned the walls, and every piece of furniture looked like it belonged in a design magazine. This is incredible, Diana breathed, walking toward the windows. It's just a place, Adrian said, moving to stand behind her. It's the company that makes it special. Diana could feel the heat of his body, smell his intoxicating cologne. When she turned to face him, the space between them seemed to disappear. His hands cupped her face gently, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. Are you sure about this? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Instead of answering with words, Diana rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was electric, igniting something primal and desperate inside both of them. Months of pain and loneliness poured out as they lost themselves in each other, finding solace and passion in the most unexpected place. They made love with an intensity that surprised them both, as if they were trying to heal each other's wounded souls through touch and whispered promises. Adrian was gentle yet passionate, attentive to her every response, making Diana feel cherished in a way she had never experienced before. Afterward, they lay entwined on his massive bed, watching the city lights twinkle below. Diana felt a peace she hadn't known was possible, her head resting on Adrian's chest as his fingers traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. What happens now? She asked softly. Now we see if lightning can strike twice, Adrian replied, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Diana closed her eyes, allowing herself to hope for the first time since her world had fallen apart. Maybe this was her chance at a new beginning, a fresh start with someone who understood the cost of success and the value of genuine connection. As sleep claimed her, she felt safer and more content than she had in years, unaware that this night would change the trajectory of her entire life. Diana woke to the gentle warmth of sunlight streaming through massive windows and the intoxicating scent of freshly brewed coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the events of the previous night came flooding back. She was in Adrian, Cross's penthouse, wrapped in silk sheets that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The sound of movement in the kitchen drew her attention. Adrian appeared in the doorway, impeccably dressed in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, carrying 2 steaming mugs. Even in the morning light, he was devastatingly handsome, his dark hair slightly messed, and his green eyes bright with something that looked like genuine affection. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, settling beside her on the bed and offering her a mug. I wasn't sure how you liked your coffee. Black is perfect, Diana replied, accepting the mug gratefully. The coffee was exceptional, rich, and aromatic. You didn't have to get dressed. I should probably be the one sneaking out before dawn. Adrian's expression grew serious. Is that what you want? To sneak out and pretend this never happened? Diana studied his face, searching for any sign that this was just another conquest for him. Instead, she saw vulnerability and hope, the same emotions she felt swirling inside her own chest. No, she admitted softly. I don't want to pretend. Good, because I have a proposition for you. Adrian set down his mug and turned to face her, fully. Cross Industries is expanding into new markets, and I need someone with your expertise to head our marketing division. The salary would be triple what you're making now, plus equity in the company. Diana nearly spilled her coffee. Are you offering me a job because we slept together? I'm offering you a job because you're brilliant at what you do. The fact that we have incredible chemistry is just a bonus. Adrian's smile was both charming and sincere. Think about it, Diana. No more working for people who don't appreciate your talent. You'd have complete creative control and unlimited resources to build something extraordinary. The offer was tempting beyond belief, but Diana had learned to be cautious. What's the catch? No catch. Just an opportunity to start fresh, both professionally and personally. Diana spent the morning getting to know the real Adrian Cross, not the mysterious billionaire from magazine covers, but the man who had built an empire from nothing after growing up in foster care. He showed her around his penthouse, sharing stories about the artwork he had collected and the books that lined his personal library. There was a depth to him that the media never captured, a genuine kindness beneath the powerful exterior. 3 days later, Diana found herself walking through the gleaming halls of Cross Industries headquarters. The building was a monument to modern architecture, all glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Her new office was on the 40th floor with a view that took her breath away. Welcome to your new kingdom, Adrian said, appearing behind her as she gazed out at the city below. It's incredible, Diana breathed. I can't believe this is really happening. Believe it. You've earned this opportunity. Adrian moved closer, his presence sending familiar shivers down her spine. Dinner tonight? I know a place that makes the best seafood in the city. Diana turned to face him, noting the hopeful expression in his eyes. Are we going to be able to keep business and personal separate? Probably not, Adrian admitted with a grin. But I'm willing to risk it if you are. Their relationship developed naturally over the following weeks. Adrian was attentive without being overwhelming, giving Diana space to establish herself in her new role while making it clear that his interest in her went far beyond professional. They had dinner together several times a week, sometimes at exclusive restaurants, other times in Adrian's penthouse where he surprised her by being an excellent cook. Diana threw herself into her new position with enthusiasm she hadn't felt in years. She developed innovative campaigns that generated buzz throughout the industry and increased Cross Industries' market visibility dramatically. Her team respected her leadership style, and she found herself genuinely excited to go to work each morning. But success came with unexpected challenges. Diana began noticing tension within the company's executive team. There were whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms, and several senior managers seemed resentful of her rapid rise within the organization. She tried to dismiss it as typical corporate politics, but her instincts told her something deeper was at play. The first real sign of trouble came during a board meeting 6 weeks into her tenure. Harold Blackwood, Adrian's longtime business partner and the company's chief financial officer, questioned every aspect of Diana's latest campaign proposal with barely concealed hostility. These projections seem overly optimistic, Blackwood said, his steel-gray eyes fixed on Diana with obvious disdain. Perhaps our new marketing director needs more time to understand how we operate here. The projections are based on solid market research and proven strategies, Diana replied calmly, though she could feel heat rising in her cheeks. I've included detailed analysis supporting every recommendation. Harold, Diana's track record, speaks for itself, Adrian interjected, his voice carrying a warning edge. Her campaigns have already exceeded our expectations. After the meeting, Diana cornered Adrian in his office. What's Blackwood's problem with me? Adrian's jaw tightened. Harold has been with me since the beginning. Sometimes he forgets that the company has grown beyond what two men can manage alone. It's more than that, isn't it? He thinks I'm here because we're sleeping together. Are you? Adrian asked quietly. Diana felt a flutter of panic. Are we? I mean, we haven't really defined what this is between us. Adrian stood and moved around his desk to where she sat. Taking her hands in his, he looked directly into her eyes. I want you in my life, Diana, both professionally and personally. But if the professional part is causing problems for you, we can figure something else out. No, Diana said quickly. I love this job. I love the challenges and the opportunities. I just need to know that you believe in my abilities. I believe in you more than you know, Adrian said, leaning down to kiss her softly. Give me some time to handle Harold. He'll come around. But Blackwood didn't come around. If anything, his hostility toward Diana intensified. She began finding errors in reports that she was certain had been correct when she submitted them. Important emails went missing from her inbox, and she was excluded from meetings that directly affected her department. Diana tried to discuss the situation with Adrian, but he seemed preoccupied with other business matters. Cross Industries was in the middle of a major acquisition, and Adrian was traveling frequently, leaving Diana to navigate the corporate politics alone. The breaking point came when Diana discovered that someone had been accessing her computer after hours. Her assistant Jessica stayed late one evening and witnessed Harold Blackwood leaving Diana's office well past normal business hours. I thought you should know, Jessica said nervously. He was in there for almost an hour. Diana felt a chill run down her spine. She had been working on a confidential proposal for a new client, something that could position Cross Industries as a major player in the emerging sustainable technology market. If Blackwood was sabotaging her work, it could ruin both her reputation and the company's chances at landing the contract. That night, Diana confronted Adrian in his penthouse. He was standing on the balcony looking out at the city lights with a glass of wine in his hand. Even from behind, she could see the tension in his shoulders. We need to talk, Diana said, joining him on the balcony. Adrian turned, and Diana was shocked by the exhaustion in his eyes. Is this about Harold? Because I'm handling it. Are you? Because he was in my office tonight going through my files. Adrian, I think he's actively trying to sabotage me. Adrian's expression darkened. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. I think Harold sees me as a threat, not just to his position, but to his relationship with you. Harold and I built this company together. He's like family to me. And what am I? Diana asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrian set down his wine glass and pulled her into his arms. You're everything, he said fiercely. You're my future, my chance at happiness. But Harold, it's complicated. Then uncomplicate it, Diana said. Because I won't let anyone destroy what we're building, professionally or personally. Adrian was quiet for a long moment, his arms tightening around her. There are things about my past, about how I built this company, that I haven't told you. Things that Harold knows. Diana pulled back to look at him. What kind of things? The kind that could destroy everything if they came to light. Harold's been my protection against that, but lately, he's been using it as leverage to maintain his power within the company. Fear crept into Diana's chest. Adrian, what did you do? Nothing illegal, he said quickly. But some of my early business practices weren't entirely ethical. I was young and desperate to succeed. Harold helped me cover up some questionable decisions, and now he thinks that gives him the right to control how I run my company and who I have in my life. Diana felt the foundation of their relationship shifting beneath her feet. Are you saying he's blackmailing you? I'm saying that leaving the past buried has been easier than dealing with the consequences, but I can't let him drive you away. I won't. They stood together on the balcony, the weight of Adrian's confession hanging between them. Diana realized that their relationship had just become infinitely more complicated, but she also knew that she was falling in love with this complex, troubled man who had given her a second chance at life. "What do we do now?" she asked. "Now we fight," Adrian said, his voice filled with determination. "Together." The next morning brought an unexpected crisis that would test everything Diana and Adrian had built together. Diana arrived at the office to find security guards at her desk and Harold Blackwood standing in her office with a satisfied smirk on his face. "Ms. Vale, please gather your personal belongings," one of the security guards said. "You're being terminated effective immediately." Diana's blood ran cold. "On whose authority?" "Mine," Blackwood said, stepping forward with a folder in his hands. "We've conducted an internal investigation and discovered that you've been selling company secrets to our competitors." "That's impossible," Diana said, her voice steady despite the panic rising in her chest. "I would never do such a thing." "The evidence suggests otherwise." Blackwood opened the folder and spread several documents across her desk. "These emails show you've been in contact with representatives from Morrison Tech, sharing confidential information about our upcoming product launches." Diana stared at the documents in shock. The emails looked authentic, bearing her digital signature and sent from her company account, but she had never written them. "These are fabricated," she said firmly. "Someone has set me up. Security footage shows you working late on the nights these emails were sent," Blackwood continued. "I'm afraid the evidence is quite damning." "Where is Adrian?" Diana demanded. "I want to speak with him immediately." "Mr. Cross is in Singapore on business. He's been informed of the situation and agrees that your immediate termination is necessary to protect the company's interests." Diana felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. Adrian hadn't even given her a chance to defend herself. After everything they had shared, all the promises about fighting together, he had abandoned her at the first sign of trouble. "I need to call him," Diana said, reaching for her phone. "That won't be necessary," Blackwood said smoothly. "Your access to all company communications has been revoked. Security will escort you from the building." Diana gathered her few personal belongings in a daze, her mind racing as she tried to process what was happening. The other employees watched, in uncomfortable silence as she was marched through the office like a common criminal. The elevator ride to the ground floor felt endless, each floor marking another step away from the life she had started to build. Once outside, Diana immediately tried calling Adrian, but her calls went straight to voicemail. She tried his personal assistant, his direct office line, even the main company switchboard. But no one would put her through. It was as if she had been completely erased from his life in the span of a single morning. For 3 days, Diana remained in her apartment, alternating between rage and heartbreak. She had been so stupid to trust again, to believe that someone like Adrian Cross could genuinely care about someone like her. The fairy tale had ended, and she was back to facing the harsh reality of her life alone. On the 4th day, Diana forced herself to shower, dress professionally, and begin the humiliating process of job hunting. Her reputation in the industry had been destroyed overnight. Word of her alleged corporate espionage had spread quickly, and no reputable company would consider hiring her. She was sitting in a coffee shop, laptop open as she searched job boards, when someone slid into the seat across from her. Diana looked up to find a woman about her own age, with short auburn hair and intelligent brown eyes. "Diana Vale?" the woman asked. "My name is Vanessa Chen, and I think you're in serious trouble. I'm sorry, do I know you?" "I'm an investigative journalist with the Financial Tribune. I've been investigating Cross Industries for the past 6 months, and I believe you've been set up." Diana closed her laptop. I'm not interested in talking to reporters. What if I told you that you're not the first person Harold Blackwood has done this to? What if I told you that there have been 3 other executives who posed a threat to his position within the company, and all of them were destroyed by manufactured scandals? Despite herself, Diana was intrigued. What kind of scandals? Vanessa pulled out a tablet and showed Diana several news articles. Thomas Green, former head of product development, accused of stealing patent designs. Sarah Kim, former chief technology officer, accused of embezzling research and development funds. James Morrison, former VP of operations, accused of accepting bribes from suppliers. All of them had their careers destroyed, and all of them insisted they were innocent. But none of them fought back. They tried, but Blackwood is very good at covering his tracks. He has connections throughout the industry and enough influence to make sure his version of events becomes the accepted truth. Diana studied the articles, seeing disturbing parallels to her own situation. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you might be different. You're not just another executive Blackwood wanted to eliminate. You're the woman Adrian Cross fell in love with, and that makes you dangerous in ways you don't even realize. Adrian doesn't love me, Diana said bitterly. If he did, he wouldn't have let this happen. What if he doesn't know what really happened? What if Blackwood presented him with evidence that was so convincing? He had no choice but to believe it. Diana felt a flicker of hope, quickly followed by skepticism. Then why hasn't he returned my calls? Maybe because he's being manipulated just as much as you are. Vanessa spent the next hour showing Diana evidence of Harold Blackwood's pattern of corporate manipulation. The man had been systematically removing anyone who threatened his position within Cross Industries, using his access to company systems and his relationship with Adrian to manufacture evidence against his targets. I can't prove any of this yet, Vanessa admitted. But with your help, I might be able to expose what he's been doing. What kind of help? You still have friends within the company, people who believe in your innocence. If we can gather enough evidence to prove that Blackwood has been manipulating company records and fabricating evidence, we can not only clear your name, but expose him for what he really is. Diana thought about Jessica, her former assistant, and several other colleagues who had seemed genuinely shocked by the allegations against her. It's risky. If we're caught, it could make things even worse. Your career is already destroyed, Vanessa pointed out. What do you have to lose? That evening, Diana met secretly with Jessica at a small restaurant across town. Her former assistant was nervous but eager to help. I never believed those accusations for a second, Jessica said. You're the most ethical person I've ever worked with, but Ms. Vale, there's something else you should know. Mr. Cross came back from Singapore yesterday, and he's not himself. He's been locked in his office, and when Harold tried to give him an update on the situation, Mr. Cross threw him out. Diana's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? I heard him shouting that Harold was a liar and that he wanted to see all the evidence himself. Harold looked terrified when he left Mr. Cross's office. Maybe Vanessa was right. Maybe Adrian didn't know the whole truth about what had happened. Diana felt a surge of hope mixed with determination. She was going to fight for her reputation, her career, and the man she had fallen in love with. Over the next week, Diana and Vanessa worked tirelessly to gather evidence. Jessica provided access to company records that showed discrepancies in the digital timestamps of the allegedly incriminating emails. A former IT employee revealed that Harold had administrative access to the email system that would have allowed him to fabricate communications. Slowly, methodically, they built a case that exposed Harold Blackwood's elaborate deception. The confrontation came on a Friday evening. Diana used Jessica's keycard to enter the Cross Industries building after hours, her heart pounding as she made her way to Adrian's office. She found him there, slumped in his chair with his head in his hands, looking utterly defeated. "Hello, Adrian," she said softly from the doorway. He looked up, and Diana's breath caught at the pain in his eyes. "Diana, how did you get in here?" "I still have friends in this building. People who believe in the truth." Adrian stood slowly, as if every movement caused him pain. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Harold showed me evidence, emails, security footage, but my heart keeps telling me it's impossible, that you couldn't have done what he says you did." "Your heart is right," Diana said, stepping into the office and closing the door behind her. "Harold Blackwood has been systematically destroying anyone he sees as a threat to his position. I'm not the first, and I wouldn't have been the last." She pulled out the folder of evidence she and Vanessa had compiled and set it on Adrian's desk. "This proves that the emails were fabricated, that Harold has been manipulating company records for years, and that he's destroyed the careers of at least 3 other executives who posed a threat to his power." Adrian picked up the folder with trembling hands, scanning the documents with growing amazement and horror. "My God, Diana, what have I done? I should have trusted you. I should have fought for you instead of letting Harold convince me that you had betrayed me." "You were manipulated by someone you trusted," Diana said gently. "Harold knew exactly how to exploit your fears and your past." Adrian looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "Can you ever forgive me?" Instead of answering with words, Diana walked around the desk and took his face in her hands. "I love you, Adrian Cross. Not your money, not your power, but you, the man who built an empire from nothing, who takes care of everyone around him, who made me believe in love again."
"I love you too,"
Adrian whispered.
"more than I ever thought possible. I've been miserable without you. Nothing matters if you're not in my life."
They kissed, with the desperate passion of 2 people who had almost lost everything, pouring months of separation and pain into a moment of pure connection. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. "What happens now?" Diana asked. "Now Harold Blackwood faces the consequences of his actions," Adrian said, his voice hard with determination. "He's betrayed not just you, but me and this entire company. I won't let him destroy anyone else." The next morning, Adrian called an emergency board meeting. With Vanessa Chen as a witness and all the evidence laid out before them, Harold Blackwood's elaborate deception was finally exposed. The man who had helped build Cross Industries was revealed as a master manipulator who had been systematically eliminating threats to his position. Blackwood was terminated immediately and faced criminal charges for fraud and corporate espionage. The other executives he had destroyed were offered reinstatement and substantial settlements. Diana was not only cleared of all charges, but offered her position back with a promotion and significant raise. 6 months later, Diana stood in the same penthouse where she had first spent the night with Adrian, but now it felt like home. They had been through hell together and emerged stronger, their love tested by betrayal and proven unbreakable. "I have something for you," Adrian said, appearing beside her as she gazed out at the city lights. Diana turned to find him holding a small velvet box, his eyes shining with love and nervous anticipation. "Diana Vale, you saved my company, my reputation, and my faith in love. You've shown me what real partnership means, both in business and in life." Adrian dropped to one knee, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" Through tears of joy, Diana whispered, "Yes." Their wedding 6 months later was a celebration of love triumphing over adversity. Standing before their friends and family, they pledged not just to love each other, but to face whatever challenges life might bring as true partners. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Diana marveled at how much her life had changed. A year ago, she had been broken and lost, drowning her sorrows in a glass of whiskey. Now she was married to the love of her life, running the marketing division of one of the most successful companies in the world, and expecting their first child. "Thank you," she whispered in Adrian's ear as they swayed to the music. For what? For showing me that sometimes the best beginnings come from the worst endings. Adrian pulled her closer, his hand resting protectively over her still flat stomach where their child was growing. Here's to new beginnings, Mrs. Cross. As they spun slowly on the dance floor, surrounded by love and looking toward a future bright with possibility, Diana knew that she had found her happily ever after. Not because life would be easy, but because they would face it together, stronger, for having overcome the obstacles that had tried to tear them apart.